20 years since the shocking 9/11 terrorist attacks is marked tomorrow. And a new documentary on ITV tells some of the harrowing personal stories of those involved. Well, I certainly don't forget where I was on that day. I can picture it exactly, and I guess we're all the same. Katie?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's just awful seeing that distress and knowing that they weren't able to go anywhere, and thinking of the loved ones, actually, that had such a delay in finding out if friends or family were affected or involved. You know, you think usually when something like that happens in London, you'll know within 24 hours, and some people were waiting agonising days to find out. I was actually 17 when it happened, 2001, so it was the year after I'd left secondary school, and I had one of those old TVs in my bedroom. I was living at home with my mum and dad, and I remember flicking the telly on, not knowing, seeing those same images, thinking that was a film, so changing the channel, which back in those days was channel 1 to 4, and every single channel had that horrific footage on there, and really not understanding, and sort of running downstairs to my mum saying, what on earth has happened? And, you know, looking back now, it changed the world, and it was my first experience of terrorism, and it changed everything we did, how we travelled, the financial district.
It absolutely did, and it's interesting to reflect on that, isn't it? I mean, it's not that terrorism didn't exist before that, of course it did, but... And, of course, we had the IRA previously, but in kind of more recent times, it brought domestic terrorism to our shores, and it's become a feature of our lives, hasn't it, Jane?
Well, it's kind of like it was almost like, it sounds like you'd say about it looked like a movie. It was like the day the world stood still.
Yeah.
You felt that wherever you were in the world, people were just either standing outside TV shops watching, or sitting at home, as I was.
It was when they started to say, and I'm kind of loath to repeat it, but when they started to say that people are jumping out of the windows, and then your eyes were drawn to that and you saw those tiny black specks. I mean, you must have been very young. Were you watching it?
Yeah, so I actually remember walking home from school and coming into the living room, and it was just this real heavy feeling in the living room, and my dad was just glued to the TV and kind of walking in, and I think I came in kind of just as the second one hit. So that was when the whole confusion started of, oh, this isn't an accident, you know. It kind of went from how the hell has someone crashed into the building.
Yeah, at first it was
this is on
an
purpose.
accident, you know, but then when the second one hit, it was an orchestrated attack, and that was a whole different story.
And even at that age, I remember just being so scared. Like you said, I'd never experienced anything like that before, and just the silence in the room of everyone watching it, and I'll never forget that, and I'll never forget how it felt. And then my dad's a black cab driver, and then the fear of him going into work, and he was like, I've got to go to work, Frank, you know, it's my job. And just thinking, I don't know if it's safe for you to do that, to go into the city, you know, what's going to happen next? Are they going to do it?
And that's still in London. Imagine the people we've just seen there in the clips who are in New York, and they're in a tower block themselves, looking over and seeing that, and nobody knew what was going to happen, including, we now know, of course, the President of the United States, because we've got the ITV documentary. There's also a really good BBC documentary called, I think it's Inside the President's...
Yeah, it was excellent.
War Room, and that was superb. You've seen it as well, about how they were completely taken by surprise, you know, and he's flying around in the sky and they don't know if he's going to be shot out of the...
He wants to go back to Washington. They wouldn't let him go back to Washington. I mean, it is an incredible insight. But I'm just thinking, you said that you were very anxious in the moment about your dad, you know, being a black cab driver going back in. Has a little bit of that stayed with you? Because
always. Yeah, I think the more things have happened in London as well, like any of the terrorist attacks in London, he'll still go into work. And I've always said to him, Dad, please don't go in. You don't know who's going to get in the taxi. You don't know what the situation is. But for him, it's his job, and London is his life. He's always lived in London, so he continues to do it. And I think it's the same for anyone, you know. I do get on the tube and I do get on the train, but I don't necessarily have to every day for work. But most of my friends and family do. So every day I worried, and you kind of then relax a bit, and then something happens again, and all those fears come back again.
But it's so important we do go about our normal business. You know, that is so important that we don't let people like that win.
Yeah.